nonlinear expressionism. Sort of, it's not a, it's not an actual thing, but it's something that I had wanted to talk about. It's not in terms of math either. I don't really deal with math. It's sort of like it's like a cop out for explaining things that can't be observed in a way that are natural to the mind, which is sort of like we're minds. So why wouldn't we? Um, but in terms of expressing content, in this case, like a video or any explanation of anything in a particular way that is rhetorically proper. And by that I mean actually that's sort of in of itself a linear expression. It's a difficult thing to really describe without actually using an example of, which is sort of in another way, it's a fantasy. I guess you could think of it that way. A linear expression is a fantasy. It's painting out a picture of something that isn't naturally occurring. So breaking that expression is somewhat difficult. Like you just saw me kind of struggle through that one a little bit there. I'm human. It happens. Sort of like what we do. We imagine things and sort of we attempt to postulate the future, and in that process create a linear time scale of like, okay, this happens and this happens and this happens. But the trouble with that is that it requires a like a reference point. You need in each of those segments you have a tendency to express other ideas in that process, so it requires a reference point in order to be proven absolutely true. And I mean, there's nothing necessarily or inherently wrong with that. It's just that it requires a lot of outside information that not a lot of other people may be privy to. If you use a nonlinear expressionism, if you use nonlinear expressionism, it seems to be more of it is a way to rhetorically involve yourself and other people in an investigation of what is being said rather than trying to postulate or pull an idea forward from what you would have already thought to have been true to begin with. And it's sort of like it's like a media bias almost. Like you can't help but, well, when speaking linearly, you can't help but express what you want to have happen in a way that you want it to happen in. See, it's hard to explain it without actually using it, and that's sort of another thing that I want to talk about in terms of chaotic nature of everything being everything else, but just a sort of like the opposite of it, which is like the same thing of it not being the same.